My name is Rick Williams. I'm the manager of Equity and Inclusion for the City of Pittsburgh, Office of Mayor William Peduto. And again, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come for this event here. I wanted to kind of tell you how this program evolved. We're part of the ERRC, which is the Equal Opportunity Review Commission. And the Equal Opportunity Commission is an internal contract monitoring and evaluation arm for the City of Pittsburgh. And we evaluate professional services and construction contracts. ERC is comprised of volunteer commissioners and staff that approve or disapprove plans submitted by city departments and our local quasi-government authorities. I think I see one of our commissioners here, Andrea Vasquez. Can you stand up? One of our ERC commissioners, please give her a hand. Over the past couple years, we realized that contract monitoring and payment tracking was not enough for our MWBE contractors. The Beacon product was developed in 2015, which gave us the capacity to allow bid solicitations to be emailed to registered vendors. So hopefully today, all of you in the room will sign up for Beacon to get your your bid solicitations emailed to you. And that was in 2015. Later on that year, we held a focus group of women business owners to get some candid feedback and dialogue around structural barriers that exist in government contracting. One of those responses were to create a forum of exchange and opportunity that was female-focused. Under Valerie McDonald's leadership, she was our former Chief Urban Affairs Officer for the City of Pittsburgh under Mayor Peduto. She wanted to have these type of events, which started in 2016, hence us being here today. This is our 4th annual year since then. So please, in her absence, please give her a round of applause, because without her, we would not be here today. I also want to recognize Chuck Durham, Lucy Pearsall Finch, our mayor's office staff, and Giselle Smith from PJ Solution for the outreach advertising that you saw going on through social media. Some of you have received the flyer in your hands and so forth. So I wanted to thank them before we kind of drilled in and thanked everyone else here, because they did some tireless work in making this program a success. I also want to take a moment to thank our program sponsors, Bridgeway Capital, Sean Thomas. Sean, are you here? He must be downstairs because he's presenting next. Calfee Associates, Celeste Calfee. There's Sean. Raise your hand, Sean. Give him a hand. He'll be featured in the first presentation downstairs. The University of Pittsburgh Small Business Development Resource Center, Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence, Tara Garrick and Michael Houlihan. Michael, we want to stand up? And of course, our program sponsors that have been with us for the last 4 years since we've been doing this. The Urban Redevelopment Authority, the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh, Chatham University. And so, as we transition here, our focus today, building beyond the walls, it's for capacity building, information sharing, and business opportunities for all. So thank you again for coming. At this time, I'd like to bring up to the stage Michael Houlihan, Assistant Director of the University of Pittsburgh Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence. Mike and his team have graciously assisted us in making this program a reality. Mike, can you give us a few words about the IEE and how business development, the ecosystem, is important to Pitt and our region as a whole?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here. If you want to fire daggers at anybody because of the parking and because of not being familiar with it, you can direct that target towards me, I guess, because I represent the University of Pittsburgh. So you can blame me. I'll take the blame for that. I want to welcome everyone for being here today. Thank you very much for your time. When Rick and I sat down, we had a meeting in the Hill District last August, and he came to me and he said, "Can we execute this? Can this be executed?" And I said, "Of course we can." I was very confident in what we were able to do working with our offices and his. And why that was so important is because what he was asking for, as he mentioned this morning, is can we bring more economic development to our region through events such as this, where we can educate, bring networking, and more social interactions together with this type of community. So when we put this together, the focus was on execution. And when you see what's happening in our region from an economic development and the growth that we're seeing in this area, it's because of you. It's you that are the ones that are actually bringing the execution to the table. And I encourage you today, when you're done here today, to continue to execute, because you're going to work together, you're going to learn new things today. We have a wonderful panel, we have a fireside chat set together, and it is all of you that are making this economy grow. To back that up with some real numbers, 60 to 70% of our nation's economy, especially here in the Pittsburgh region, are supported by small business owners. That means people that get up and go to work. It's the entrepreneurs. It's all of you that are making this economy grow. And 1 out of 2 incomes per household in this region is because of small business owners and because of entrepreneurs like all of you. So I encourage you all to continue to execute. Be encouraged. It's going to be a wonderful day. We have a program in front of you which leads you through. We'll talk you through the programs, the different breakout sessions that we're going to offer. But I thank you all for being here today. I'll be around all day. Just look for me. My office, again, is the Small Business Development Center, and I'm actually one of the speakers here at the 9:15 session. I'll be right here for that first session. And Rick, I think all of us owe him a round of applause for what he's been able to do in putting this together. So welcome and thank you.
All right. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. If you need wise counsel and fair advice from City Council, I call upon this individual quite often when I have to go through things and think about things and moving things forward. I'm kind of impartial to Councilwoman because my daughter's name is Erika as well. So basically, they share the same name, and I kind of, lean toward her a little bit more with my 8-year-old daughter. Anyway, Councilwoman Strassburger has been involved with our WBE event since 2017, in which we're humbly grateful to have a champion that advocates for equitable women's rights and ERC initiatives from the council seat. So I want to give a warm welcome to Councilwoman Erika Strassburger to give welcoming remarks.
Wow, thank you, Rick. What a nice introduction. I'm so pleased to be here again at this event and to see all of you here. Welcome, and I hope this is a helpful and fruitful day for all of you. I'm looking forward to being here for as long as I can today. I just want to say a few things. One, as Pittsburgh continues to evolve, as the region continues to evolve and grow, I think you've heard probably many others say this, but it's true for me as well. I'm committed to making sure that there aren't 2 Pittsburghs, that we're all growing together, and ensuring that women and minority locally owned businesses get a fair shake is an incredibly important part of that. Whether it's with the city of Pittsburgh, whether it's with some of our authorities that are represented here today. Can you raise your hand if you're with one of the city's authorities? URA, Parking Authority, Housing Authority. Yeah, so, and the county authorities as well. There are so many opportunities to be involved with city, county, and local government authorities, as well as the actual municipalities themselves. So I hope that today is helpful. What I am heartened by is not just these entities going through the motions and saying, well, we have a certain number of criteria we have to fill, or we have to go through certain motions because it's law. There are actual programs that not only work to find women minority-owned businesses and hire them in contract bidding, but also to work to grow and to give support to those businesses. And I hope that you, if you haven't taken advantage of some of those programs, are able to find out a little bit more about the programs that do exist, because I think that personally, pairing programs that build capacity and build ability within the small business leadership, and then allowing them the opportunity to bid on proposals and RFPs and RFQs and go through the process and navigate that, then you have both sides of it. You're ready to go and you have the opportunity. So the last thing I'll say is, small business makes up the fabric of our neighborhoods. I sponsored a post-agenda, which is a panel hearing, a panel of experts on not small business overall, and not specifically actually the issue that we're here to talk about today, but how do we save small businesses when those people who are ready to retire, ready to, would ideally give their business over to the next generation in their family, they have no choice but to close. Well, we were talking about employee ownership, and that's one option for turning your business over is to actually turn it over to your employees for partial ownership. And out of that conversation in City Council, we realized just how many just how much and just how important small businesses are to the fabric of our communities. That's what makes Pittsburgh special, are our neighborhoods and our communities. And you as small business owners are a crucial part of that, more than some of the larger entities that get a lot of the attention and the fanfare when they might be coming to relocate a headquarters here or a second headquarters. It's really the small businesses that keep us going. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for all of you who are helping to support these small businesses and others who are entrepreneurs in the community. Again, welcome, and please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. I and others on City Council are really, really dedicated to this issue. In fact, we are the Women's Caucus. There are 4 women on City Council, and we've been initiating a set of priorities around how do we actually ensure that we're seeing all the data that's coming out of all of the entire procurement and bidding process, and ensuring that everyone is getting a fair shake, that everyone is going through the EORC process, and that it's fully transparent, not only for us, but for the public. So we're really keeping a close eye on this. It's a priority for us in the Women's Caucus and many others on council. And I know that you can always come to us and come to me for any questions or any suggestions that you might have to make the process even better at the city. So thank you again for being here, and welcome.
Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here. It's so good to see fellow small business owners and professionals as well. I actually wanted to share something that not very many people know. Michael, I actually had the opportunity to go through the Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence and found it to be extraordinarily helpful. So if you have an opportunity to connect with them, please don't hesitate, because it is a phenomenal resource. So as Rick mentioned, I have an interesting story. I'm not going to bore you with it for long, but I did work for the Department of Labor for 11 years in affirmative action compliance, and then decided to sort of switch sides and go over to private industry and deal with the auditors who I once was, which I had no idea auditors were so scary until I had no idea I was so scary until I had to deal with my colleagues. So I am here. Rick asked me to come because I do have that experience, but more recently, actually 6 years in now, I became an entrepreneur like so many of you. And it has been a wild ride and quite a journey. And I wanted to share some points with you today because what I have found for myself, and I don't know if you struggle with this, but I struggle with keeping my motivation high. And I know a lot of folks struggle with that. And so if you don't yet have a business, I want to give you some tips on things to think about, maybe to start one. And if you have one, things to potentially help you keep going. So let's jump in. Let's see if I'm going to do this right. Okay. How many people own businesses in here? All right. Room full, right? Okay, that's what we're here for. If you don't, how many want to or want to start another? Okay. We got someone. Okay. How many feel that you're on top of everything at all times? Oh, all right. Listen, this is who needs to be up here. She has all the tips. All the tips. How many feel overwhelmed at times? Right? Okay. How many talk badly to yourself when you don't accomplish a goal or it takes longer than you think it should? Right? Yes. Yeah. Same here. So let's get into it. Let's talk about women and how we are working. Women are more likely to start businesses than men, the statistics tell us. As of 2018, there were 12.3 million women-owned businesses in the U.S. as compared to 402,000 in 1972. Huge jump. I mentioned these last two bullets because while we aren't specifically talking about mentorship, I like to think of this kind of event as sort of a one-off mentoring opportunity, right? There are going to be things shared with you today that you probably couldn't get in 5 or 10 mentor sessions. So entrepreneurs with a mentor are 5 times more likely to actually launch a business, and 80% of entrepreneurs with a business, with a mentor, stay in business after a year. Let's jump into these reasons. I want to get to them because my time with you is short, and I want to make sure that I'm able to get to everything. All right, so let's talk about 10 reasons that you should get started or keep going. Number 1. All right, so number 1, you had this idea. You. Don't you find a lot of times you'll see something, you'll say, oh, I should have thought of that. Or in my position, if you aren't aware, which you're probably not, I had the opportunity to invent a cosmetic tool called Nikki's Magic Wand. So I invented it because I was getting on my own nerves about not being able to get all of my product out of small tubes and containers. And over the years, I've had the fortune of people saying, oh, I should have thought, why didn't I think of that? And I always tell them, you didn't think of it because what is for you is for you. And that doesn't mean, you wouldn't have done well with this idea, but you probably wouldn't because it was given to me for my purpose, but the idea that is for you, you will excel with. I wouldn't excel with your idea. So let's not covet anybody else's ideas. Our ideas are for us. And I truly believe the wand was given to me to pursue and to see through. And so that's why you have to keep going or start what you're thinking about, because this idea was given to you. And I want to tell you this, even if it's something that you want to do that someone else is doing, don't you know more than one Mary Kay rep, right? Don't they do it a little bit differently? Somebody might do some more promotions. I've had them buy wands from me to give to their loyal customers. Different marketing tools, even though they have a general marketing plan, you can always make something your own, even if you're not inventing something from scratch. Think outside of the box, and only you can do that with what you're working on. Number 2, people need what you have. Do you ever get the sense that Macy's or Forever 21 feels badly about asking you to come over there and buy stuff? They do not. They go, we have towels, you need towels, and they're 25% off. Come right now. They have no reservations about that. So when I first started this journey, it was interesting to me because I never had a lemonade stand. I never sold Avon. Because I always felt, oh, people are going to see, here she come with these lipsticks. Here she come with these lotions. And the truth of the matter is people need what we have. They may not know yet, so we have to tell them. And they may think they already have what you have, but they don't have it exactly like you have it. the way you've presented it, the love you've poured into it. So remember that. People don't apologize out here in this retail world for offering you what they have. Don't you apologize either. You get to be creative. So I'm not what one would consider a creative person, and I'll tell you a quick story about that, why that is widely known. So I'm in the car the other day with my 13-year-old son, and I'm originally from Philly, and so he asks me, Mom, if you had grown up here, what high school do you think you would have gone to? And I said, oh, I don't know. It probably would have depended on the neighborhood I lived in. And he said, well, we know you wouldn't have gone to Kappa because you can't do anything. And I was like, this raggedy. But you got to have thick skin with 13-year-old boys. But he's right in a way that the traditional thoughts of creativity, ideas of creativity, no, I do not have. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't draw. However, when you are starting or working through your business, creativity is key, right? How does this logo look? What color do I want it to be? How should this website be laid out? You have an opportunity to use different parts of your brain than you ever used before. And I'm certainly using all of them, things that have me thinking all the way outside of the box. Number 4, kind of in that same vein, you get to challenge yourself. The list of things I did not know when I started this business could rival Santa's. Literally had to learn every single thing. Okay, I need a prototype. How do you do that? Who do you even call? Okay, I need to figure out where to buy this mold from. What factory should I use? What color? You have no idea. My product is black and gold. Who knew there were hundreds of golds? So I was talking to the person at the factory, and she said, well, you have to pick a gold. And I said, I mean, gold, just, I don't know what you mean. So she said, well, so she sends me a list, and I was like, oh my gosh, how does one pick a gold out of hundreds and hundreds of golds? But I share that to say there are so many things you need to learn in this process. And while learning can maybe seem burdensome at times, it is an amazing gift you give yourself. Last year, I decided I wanted to learn how to do newsletters in MailChimp. I had MailChimp forever and just never really fully utilized it. A lot of times we'll have these little products we buy, might even pay for them monthly, and don't really use them to their full capacity. And so I had a friend who is a wonderful graphic artist sit down with me, and I had my notepad in step 1, step 2, and now I can do that newsletter with my eyes closed, and no one can take that from me. No one can take that knowledge from me. Once you learn this stuff, you've got it, right? 7 years ago, because I've been in this for 6 years, 7 years ago, no one would have invited me here to talk about much of anything. So over these years, I've been able to accumulate enough that somebody thought I could put together a PowerPoint presentation and share what I've learned so far. So keep learning. Income streams. Very few people I know, you might be one, you might be a rare one, but very few people I know will say, you know what? I don't need all this extra money coming in from different sources. I really just want to focus on this one paycheck. I feel like it's stable, it makes me calm. Sure, there are people who only want to work a 9 to 5. I get that. But if someone gave them the opportunity, maybe, to earn something on the side, then they would probably do that, right? We're starting to hear more and more about people with 9 to 5s who are Ubering and lifting and baking on the weekends and having cleaning companies on the side. Because people are realizing that to live this life, the one we want and the one we have, to go to Belize, if you want to go to Belize, you might need more than a 9 to 5 check. And so pursue those different streams if you have an idea for something. A community you never would have met. I mention that in most conversations or most talks I give, I suppose, because I am a group kind of person. Meaning this, I've got my book club friends and my high school friends and my college friends and my sorority friends, and I love to be around people. I love to make new friends and make new acquaintances. And this entrepreneur sorority / fraternity is unlike any other. It's unlike any that you will ever get a chance to glimpse as a full-time 9-to-5er. The creativity and the enterprising nature of people who create something that never existed before or tweak something that already exists is an amazing community to be a part of. And I don't take that for granted because I know I had no designs on being an entrepreneur. Literally started this business at 41. Had no design, figured I'll work this deal, I've worked on Grant Street my entire life. So just went from the Federal Building to being White Mountain. So I figured I'll stay on Grant Street until the retirement party and the cake and go on home. And then this idea came and that switched things a bit. And I am forever grateful because the community alone is something that you compares to nothing else. It has no peer. Inspiration to others. That's extremely important, and let me tell you why. In this life, I don't care what it is, 9-to-5, side business, marriage, parenthood, many things we struggle with, we feel that we are 100% by ourselves, don't we? Whatever oh, my son is the only one doing this. Oh, my manager is the only one like this. And this is exactly why support groups exist. AA, NA. People need to hear that other people are struggling. People need to hear how other people have triumphed. That's what this is about. That's what being an inspiration to others is. Sharing your journey, sharing the story. Sharing difficult aspects, interestingly enough, I found personally, have helped me more than people coming and going, oh, this is so easy. Like you see the people on Shark Tank. Yeah, I decided to create these footies 2 months ago, and now I made $3 million. Girl, what? And so you're watching it like, well, why didn't I make $3 million in 2 months with my little idea? You need to hear the stories so you don't feel like you aren't equipped for this. You are equipped for it. You are. So keep going. And I have to say the last line of the other one to make 8 make sense. And what an amazing feeling it is to know that you help someone shake their fear. Speaking of fear, once you know you can do something, then you know you can do other things. And I'll give you an example. I was fearful starting this business because I didn't know what it would entail. We know that a lot of businesses not only take time, but they actually take a fair amount of capital. And so you're putting a lot of yourself, a lot of your resources into something that is your baby that is not valuable yet, right? So you're fearful. You're concerned that this is not going to work out. And now you've wasted time and you've taken time away from your children or your spouse or to pursue this. But when things start to roll and things start to pick up steam and success looks however success looks for you, it is such a rush to know you saw something through. So when you have an idea for something else, you aren't fearful. I launched Nikki's Magic Wand in 2012. And in 2015, I decided I wanted to write a book. And I had said I wanted to write a book before and just did not do it. But after having gone through the highs and the lows of Nikki's Magic Wand up to that point, it was a breeze in my mind to make that switch. I was like, you did something big already. Write the book. And so once you know, it's sort of like when kids get an A. They finally got an A in something. Then now they know they get A's. I get A's. I'm an A getter. I can get A's in other subjects. It just inspires you to keep going. Legacy for family. I mentioned the very disrespectful 13-year-old that I have. And I also have a 21-year-old who is in her 4th year at Duquesne University. And one of the big, wonderful gifts we can give our children or our nieces or anybody watching us is the knowledge that you don't have to be and stay the same as you thought you were going to be. You can change it up. My daughter wants to be a teacher, but she calls me all the time, Mom, I think I'm going to start this kind of business. And I think I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to do that on the side. And I have to believe in, well, it's because she's told me, it's because she's watched my journey over the last number of years, and she knows it doesn't have to be one thing. You don't have to choose. And I feel like that is such a gift we give the people around us, that you don't have to pick one thing. You really can expand your mind to do more than one thing, whatever it is. So do that. And finally, birthright. Not one of us in this room is meant to be ordinary. And that's not me trying to give you some mystical speech. It's just me telling you that you're here because you want to think or are already thinking outside of the box. Not one of us wants to stay the steady path. We want to shake things up a little bit. So don't be ordinary, be extraordinary, and leave a huge legacy for everyone behind you. Thank you.
While she's walking down, please give her a round of applause again, please. If that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. That was tremendous. I mean, you think about your journey, and being here today is a testimony to that. So we're ready to get started here. Just wanted to kind of tell people, because we're moving up and down in regards to the sessions today, so please grab your booklets, programs. And so right here will be the Institute of Entrepreneurial Excellence for session 1. Downstairs will be Bridgeway Capital. So we're going to be breaking off and we're going to be running. Don't worry about the times. We're going to adjust the times because I know we're running a little bit late on this. We'll adjust the times. Don't worry about that. We'll kind of let the presenters know, when their stop times are and so forth, because we want you to get everything you need today. And again, I know some people I see from the governmental committee conference last week, and today, if you don't make a connection with the people around you, and if you don't make a connection with the people that are here, that's on you. We're just providing that opportunity for you to make that connection and to get things that you need that you normally would not hear at a general conference and so forth. I challenge my exhibitors to answer the hard questions today. The hard questions that come through to get the information that you need. Please feel free to open up and share that, because that's what we're here. We're here to go beyond the walls, beyond the barriers. And someone told me, when we developed the sign, the flyer for the event, it said, should you change it from walls to barriers? And the thing is that when you look at the flyer, when you have a chance, when you go home after this event, and you look at the two ladies, there's probably individual stories that you could think about in the challenges of seeing those two ladies working together on that flyer. So I just want to kind of put that in your mind as we go through today, and I want to release you now to the sessions. Again, Pitt will be here, the Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence for the first session, and Bridgeway Capital will be downstairs. So thank you again.
My name is Michael Houlihan. Again, I'm the Assistant Director over at an office called the Small Business Development Center. So what you will see in your packet this morning is you will have there's a kind of a hard little flyer. My office is underneath the umbrella of what's called the Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence. So very simply, we offer 5 different services or 5 different centers underneath that umbrella. First of all is my department, which is called the Small Business Development Center. If you're not familiar with that, we are one out of 18 centers as a nonprofit based here in the state of Pennsylvania. They're in every state. Ohio has 25. Every state has small business development centers. We are funded by the Small Business Administration at the federal level. We are funded at the state level, and we have some sponsorships as well. But we do not, as entrepreneurs, obviously just have to relate and rely upon federal or state tax dollars. What we do is we can prove from a metric standpoint, for every $1 that we receive, we return $7 back into the business community. So we're a 1-to-7 ratio on an annual basis. And to back that up, last year we saw over 600 business clients as customers, and we did over $14 million in new capital formation. That means business owners came to us and said, Mike, I need to get some capital. I need to buy some equipment, or I've got to buy, I'm looking at some new property, or we're moving, or whatever it is to that business. I need a line of credit. We were able to work with our partners in the business community and establish over $14 million, bring $14 million new into our local economy here. So, and I'll get into that into more detail. So we don't, again, just rely on federal and state tax dollars to support us as a nonprofit. We are very entrepreneurial. We write a lot of grants. My responsibilities are to write grants. I write new business curriculum to put on training programs such as this, reach out with our local partners. I actually recruit. I go out and actually bring in entrepreneurs, business owners, and listen to the business community about what they need. And then I actually do a lot of the teaching for those courses as well. Our services are at no cost to you. We are, again, a nonprofit organization. So there's 3 services that the Small Business Development Center provides. Number 1 is consulting. Any of you can meet with the 8 consultants that we have, and you would be assigned a consultant. We have 8 people on our staff. All of us have owned our own business, or we've been involved in a family business. I would say I've been on both sides of the table. When I was in a family-based business, I applied for a small business administration loan, an SBA loan. I was able to secure a $385,000 SBA loan. I've been on both sides of the table. I know what it's like to have payroll that's coming due and having 20 employees that need a paycheck in 2 days. And I gotta make sure there's enough cash in the account to make sure that we're making payroll. I've been on both sides of those type of tables. So we will provide counseling for you. We will also come to you. You do not have to come back to Pitt and fight with the parking like you might have had to done this morning. The reason why, we like to meet with you at least one time initially here at our offices, but I like to come and see your business as well. I like to smell it, taste it, feel it, see what it's about. The reason why is because sometimes when I meet with business owners and entrepreneurs, they tell me one story, and when I go and actually see their business, I always like to say the words and the music don't go together, okay? So we will come to you. You don't necessarily always have to come to us. All the counseling is private, confidential, one-on-one, and again, at no cost to you. The second thing that we do, again, is the capital formation. We're not the funders, but we will match you with the funders. I have a list in my office of 180 different lenders that are in this region alone. Some are very specific. Some may say, I don't work with startups. Some may say, I don't work with restaurants. There's very specifics on who lenders want to work with these days. I will tell you who to go and see, who to ask for, what type of loan to apply for, how to get it approved, and obviously to get you through the application process. Those are the kind of things that we bring to the table. We are resources. If you need an attorney, we'll give you 2 or 3 attorneys. I mean, attorneys are like physicians. They're very specific. You know, you don't go to a cardiologist if you have a problem with your foot. You know, attorneys are very specific like that. So if you need somebody to help on the web design, an accountant, doesn't matter what that service is, we will find you a match that knows your industry, can speak your language, because every industry has its own language, and it's also affordable to you. So we have vetted any type of referral that we're going to provide for you. The third thing we do is educational training programs. We are constantly going out into the business communities and providing education and training. And most of our programs, like we like to say, are on scholarships. We absorb those costs because of the grants and because of the sponsorships that we put together. So we try and bring the education, the training, and the capital formation to you, okay? That's how you can execute on our services when we're done here today, okay? Now, I'm not here for my benefit. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning. I met Chuck here this morning here at 6 a.m. and started moving tables and chairs around. I'm not here for my benefit. I'm here for your benefit. Is there anything particular that anyone here wants to get out of today's morning session with me? Any questions and say, you know what, when we get done, man, I wish Mike would have covered this. I wish he would have addressed this topic. Is there anything particular I can, again, questions or concerns before we begin? Yes, ma'am.
Can you speak more about, I'm not sure exactly the name of the building, but I just know if that's what Hammond Street is.
Yes. You're exactly, it's called the Homewood Community Center. Is that the one you're referring to? Now, there's the Homewood Community Center that we just opened. We're going to be hosting training and counseling there. And then there's the one that's called the Manufacturing Assistance Center, the MAC. The MAC is for anyone who is, maybe you're a maker, maybe need access to certain types of equipment, maybe need to build something, make something, create something. We, through our offices and through the Swanson School of Engineering, we have arrangements so that we can work with you. We have entrepreneurs that are very skilled in, obviously, the maker space. They will meet you over there, they will take you through, they will train you on the equipment, they will give you access to use that equipment as well. Does that help? Okay, that's again another service that we provide, again at no cost to you. If you are a maker, you're trying to make something. Let us help you build that and put that together. Okay, one of our consultants, Jessica Sinclair, is actually very skilled from a background standpoint when it comes to patents, trademarks, intellectual property, things along those lines that you may need to protect when it comes to something along those lines. So that may be something that you could personally connect with from a counseling standpoint. And she does do time consulting over there, and she has 2 other people on her staff, Kim and Carl, that can meet you over there as well. They also work on, from a digital standpoint. So let's say you've got this idea in your head, you know the market wants it, maybe, we can do some 3D designs along those lines. I had a business owner that needed to work with, he needed to create a mortarboard that had sensors, kind of like this, has little sensors inside of it. So we put him in touch with one of our local manufacturers that were able to make the actual widgets for him that were going to fit inside of his product. So we make those kind of connections happen. Please. The other building is a community center. We offer that for training, and we offer it for counseling services. So things along those lines. And that just opened. Okay? It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful building. It's you can call it that. We call it the community center. Right down the street. Yep. Yeah. Where the old PNC building used to be. Yep. Okay. All right, good. Yes, please, in the back. Jessica Sinclair. Jessica Sinclair. Yes, please.
I may have missed it, but the fire says Western Pennsylvania. Do you have boundaries?
The institute that open an umbrella, we do not have boundaries. My office, we will take clients from anywhere, but for us to actually go out and do some of our specific, just some on the training side, we cover Washington, Allegheny, and Greene County. Duquesne's Small Business Development Center covers more of Butler and Beaver. St. Vincent covers more of Westmoreland, so along those lines. But trust me, I have clients from Fayette, from Greene, from Westmoreland, from Butler, Beaver. We go anywhere. Good question. Yes.
Do you
Good question. From a nonprofit standpoint, you can attend our programming, but from a counseling standpoint, we actually refer people to the Robert Morris has a center for nonprofits. They have 20 remarkable people that work in that office. It's downtown. It's right next to the Duquesne Club, and they provide the counseling for the nonprofits. So it's a good question. Now, your clients may be nonprofits, but you may be in a for-profit position. Then you're mine, okay? Work with me. Okay. So I'll take more questions. Continue to work on the time. When I met with Rick, as I mentioned before, back in August, we were putting all the logistics together. Then about 3 weeks ago, and this was just 3 weeks ago, he says, Mike, I need you to actually be one of the presenters. I said, okay, fine. I don't mind presenting. I can do that. I said, but what do you want me to talk about? So about a week later, so we're talking just 2 weeks ago, he sends me this email. This is exactly what it said. It said, Michael, I would like you to talk about what things are needed for a successful, sustainable business of any kind. And I thought, okay. So in 45 minutes or less, from manufacturers, retail, service-based, e-commerce-based, home-based, doesn't matter what the industry is, I have to tell them with a crystal ball how to make their businesses successful and sustainable, and do that in less than 45 minutes. Go. Okay. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do what we can. As I mentioned, I think a lot of it starts from having as we talked about earlier, having a mentor, having somebody to help you, someone that's going to be very blunt and honest and open with you and say, it's the worst idea I've ever heard in my entire life, but here's the reasons why. And again, tell you that. From us as a counseling, we're very polite, but we are blunt. We don't want to waste your time, nor do we want to see you waste your money with decisions that you're making. So from a counseling standpoint, whether you're a startup, you're in that growth phase, or you're in a transitional phase, please seek our services. We have 20 people on our staff that will help you make those kind of decisions. And we can help you from the business, the strategic, the marketing, human resources, financial analysis. Information technology is really crucial because the way e-commerce is these days, how people are driving traffic to your websites and social media, loan packaging, product commercialization, even franchising. Environmental management is huge. We have a woman on our staff, Leanne Briggs, who's an environmental manager. She will actually come to your site and talk to you about, if you're looking at buying a piece of property, are you having loss of heat through your windows, or what's the roof look like, or gas, water, sewage, anything along those lines. She is a free resource. She will do assessments for you to try and help you be more energy efficient from an environmental standpoint. This is our current staff. We've hired 2 more people. We haven't had their photos even taken yet, so, but this is our current staff that we have available to you. From a professional standpoint, when we talk about sustainability, what I like to so I think is crucial to recommend, is that you have a professional team around you. When I was in business and I was growing my business, and I'll be very honest with you, my dad owned an insurance business. My brother was involved, and my sister was involved, and they had one other person. And my dad asked me to join the business, and I said no. He asked me to join the business again because they were not doing well financially, and I said no. He then said, Mike, if you don't join the business, you're not welcome at Thanksgiving. At that point, I knew he was serious. Because I come from a kind of a large Irish Catholic family. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and that was pretty serious. So at that point, I did join the company, and he had 3 goals for me. He said 3 things. He said, number 1, we're in a bad lease. We got to get out of this lease. Number 2, we got to find a new building, and we got to build it to suit because we want to double our staff. And then the third thing was not only, get out of a bad lease, buy and build a brand new building. The third was double our staff. On top of he said, we only have 1 revenue stream, 1 source of revenue. He goes, we need to diversify. We need to have more revenue sources. So we were able to come up with 3 different revenue sources. That was my task. When I got done with those 3 goals, I've had a very good relationship with our office, and I was able to join them on a consulting role from a business standpoint. But when I was in business, these were my 5 best friends. Okay, I've been married 17 years. Y'all can clap. That's a good thing. Okay, I've been married for 17 years. But from a business standpoint, these are my 5 new best friends. We would get together twice a year at a minimum. I'd spend $100. My attorney knew my accountant knew my insurance agent knew my banker knew the consultants that we had, the mentors that we had. These are people that were not invested in my business, they were invested in me. They're invested in helping me grow and make smart decisions about my business. So from a sustainability standpoint, I recommend that you have a very strong team around you, and they know each other, and that you meet with them and let them, guide you on some of the decisions that you're making. All right, so my dad is from Mount Lebanon. My mom is from Jeanette in Westmoreland. My wife's from Squirrel Hill. We adopted a son who was born at McGee. My dad was in the Army, so I was born just south of Detroit. Everybody know what this is? Okay, thank you. I'm glad somebody said that. I was thinking about changing this. I used this slide before, and I talked about Motown. And I had a young millennial say, "What's Motown?" And for me, being born between Ann Arbor and Toledo, Ohio, saying, "What's Motown?" And this was like our family vacation each year. It's kind of like saying, "Who's Santa Claus?" So I'm feeling 42 when he said, "Who's Motown?" and "What's Motown?" So the reason why I bring this up is because the way Motown got started was because Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown, and a little guy named Smokey Robinson, you haven't heard of him before, for the millennials in the audience, they had a focus group. Okay, they used a focus group to get their business off the ground. They had a mirror, a two-way mirror, and they had little Stevie Wonder, and the Jackson 5, and the Supremes, and the Four Tops, and the Temptations, and Marvin Gaye, and everybody else on one side. And they used a focus group saying, is this the best, if this was your last dollar, would you buy this album? Would you buy this song? We use focus groups all the time with our business owners. And I encourage you to have a focus group. Not those professionals I just showed you, but to sustain your business, bring in a focus group. Bring in some people to run your ideas by. Buy them breakfast, buy them lunch, and start pitching your ideas. These may be potential clients, they may be existing clients, could be potential investors, anything along those lines, but use a focus group. It's crucial to get some real, it's really what's happening is it's the perception versus the reality. What you think the market is telling you in your industry, whatever your industry is, versus what the market truly needs to tell you. Use a focus group. Social media has obviously blown up in the past 10 years or so. I can't stress the importance of having something along those lines. But people say, well, I use social media, it's part of my marketing strategy, and that's important. But how much of your time is being spent along those lines? It's got to be a part of the marketing plan. See, with a marketing plan, I always think it's important that you have a marketing budget. People say, well, it doesn't cost me anything to do my social media. Yes, it does. It costs your time. And your time is the most valuable thing that you have. So I had a business owner that said, yeah, I'm spending 20 to 25 hours a week on my social media account. I said, but how much of that are you getting a return on that investment? How are you tracking that? One service that we provide at our office is called a search engine optimization report, an SEO report. It costs about $300 to $400 if you were to pay for it privately. We will run that kind of report for you. Give us your website, give us your URL, give us your social media links, locations, all that jazz. And we will run about a 12-page report and tell you what's right with it, what's wrong with it, how people are finding you through the different search engines. We will help you make that more make your presence more presentable along those lines in any of those social media contacts. All right, we will provide that, and it's really easy to follow too, because it's red light, yellow light, green light, and I'm sure you can figure that out. It has suggestions and recommendations. It takes about 2 weeks to run that report for you. And what I tell my business owners is get that report, and who's ever hosting your website, hand it to them and said, I just got this done independently, and I'm not paying you my premium or whatever the bill is for next month until this SEO report is corrected. Use it. Execute it. That's a service that we can provide. Okay? It's a good thing that is available to you. One thing that we also do, which actually scares me to death, people say, well, what's preventing businesses from growing, from really scaling? Well, I'll tell you what it is. People say, well, it's not having good workforce development. It's not having good talent to draw on, or being able to retain good talent, or, I need more capital. I'll tell you what it really is. It's cybersecurity and cyber threats. Because you always hear about the JCPenney's and the Lowe's and all the big C corporations that get hacked. It's the small business owners that get hacked even more that never make the headlines. We actually have a questionnaire. It's 33 questions. We will email it to you. We will send it to you. You can just request it. And it's a way to analyze your business from an infrastructure standpoint to protect your business from these types of cybersecurities, when you're doing any type of e-commerce, even from a website standpoint. We will run you 33, you may be able to answer all 33 questions, you may not. Again, who's ever hosting your website, give it to them. Fix these 33 things, and you can hold their check hostage until those 33 issues are resolved. It's a way to protect your business. That's another service that we provide. Moving on from other things to sustain your business. These are great areas that I always like to say, do you know your, like you ever watch Shark Tank, and Mark Cuban always says, do you know your numbers? When it comes to knowing your numbers, do you understand, especially from a tax obligation standpoint, especially like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that just went through a year ago, do you understand? Have you had these kind of conversations with your CPA? I cannot tell you how many business owners I've met with that, they're getting their personal taxes done right now. But from a business standpoint, they haven't sat down and actually started to really understand where they were a year ago, before the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, to where they are now, to where they want to go. You need to understand these kind of things and put these things, it's worth your time. Is it going to make you more money? In the long run, yes. Will it save you money? Yes. Make you money, save you money. You need to be able to do both things. All right. No particular reason, just there's a lot of wonderful, wonderful banks and lenders in this area. But one that I've noticed recently, because we host a program on the state of the economy locally. And if you go to this website that's offered through PNC, they actually have economic reports that are available, and they run these, I don't know if they run them monthly or quarterly, but you hear a lot of chatter about how the economy is doing. Again, we are the drivers of the economy. We are the small business owners. We are the backbone of the economy, both for Pittsburgh and for our region. This is actually the truth behind the numbers in this report. It's a couple-page report. It's excellent. It helps you make smarter decisions about your business, about what's really happening. When I talk about the chatter, you hear lots of different opinions. That's great. They're opinions. Here's the numbers to really back it up on what's really happening, because it talks about where we were, where we are, so you have a better sense of where we're going. Again, from a sustainability, which Rick had asked me to talk about. How are we going to sustain our business? We need to make sure that we understand and know our numbers, as I mentioned in that previous slide. It's a great place to get. It's free. You don't have to have an account with PNC. I know some of the other banks do it. I just recently saw this one, and I was reading through it. And it helps me, especially in economic development, really understand what's going on. Cash is absolutely what? King. Cash will always be king. As I mentioned before, I have a list of 180 different lenders. Some banks, I'll be honest with you, maybe they want accounts that are $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 above. Well, what if you need $10,000? What if you need $15,000? Where do I go? Maybe you don't need a loan. Maybe you need, a line of credit. I think actually every small business should have a line of credit. Why? Because it's just cash. It's available. It's on a credit card. I know one of the local banks in this area offers a credit card with a $20,000 balance with a 0% interest rate for 12 months. I mean, again, that's free. The biggest thing I see with, I'll tell you. I know. I know it's right here. I'll tell it's not that 3 letters. It's another one that has 3 letters in its name. I'll get with you. I'll get with you.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Do you have any grant opportunities?
Possibly, if from a nonprofit standpoint, if you're working with Robert Morris's university, they do. I know they absolutely do on the nonprofit. For the for-profit center, for for-profit business, I'll be very honest with you. I've done 3 grants in the past 3 years. All 3 of them were tied to business plan competitions. Okay? So it really comes down to, is there? Yes. Are you willing to take your time to actually go out and put the business plan together and compete to go after it versus how many? I'll be very honest with you. I have a business owner. He's a maker. He had a product. And UPS, the big brown truck, they had a contest that was in this region. And they looked at, I mean, it was like 10 states, because they were looking at establishing accounts that were going to be things that would be exporters and importers. That helps their business. I understand that. And they had a very, very nice business plan and a cash reward to those business owners. So my client applied, and we worked and made the pitch, and he made the top 10 list. He got invited to Philadelphia on his dime to go to Philadelphia and pitch. And the top 3 winners all got cash rewards and got a contract with UPS. Okay, fantastic. What place did he come in? Exactly, he came in 4th. Now, we took that type of experience. We took that kind of knowledge. We were able to, obviously he was disappointed coming in 4th, but because he was so well trained, because we had his business plan down, we had his pitch down, we had all of his financials in order. We started a Kickstarter campaign. We raised $130,000 in his Kickstarter campaign with Indiegogo. And I said to him like a month later, I said, you know what? You lost out on about $10,000, but now you have $130,000 in pre-orders. So for me, I'm always a half-full glass kind of guy. I'm very optimistic. I'm a very, very positive type person. I was trying to look for that silver lining. So we try to make those things work. So from a grant standpoint, again, to answer your question, are they out there? But I've seen them more from a business planning standpoint than anything else. Here at Pitt, because of the Randall Big Idea competition, we've had, thankful to the Randall family, they donate $100,000 for a student competition every year. $100,000 every year for the Big Idea competition. That's putting money back into this economy and especially helping these young entrepreneurs get off the ground. Okay? But getting back to that line of credit, cash is king. Get that line of credit established so that you have it. Because we all know we never know what tomorrow's going to bring. Okay, we all know nothing's going to bring, we don't have no idea what tomorrow's going to bring, so have that in place. All right. From a management standpoint, I always like to say, it's kind of hard to read because of the glare, I apologize, but having a very specific goal when I talk about from a chart. This is a marketing plan, whose responsibility is, what month is it going to be, what am I going to do from a marketing standpoint, and how much is it going to cost, and what's going to be my return on that investment. Putting together a marketing plan. When I was in business, we had something called 21 and under. 21 and under was very simple. We took 21 marketing ideas and broke it out over 3 different quarters. 7, 7, 7 equals 21. We took those ideas, and after the end of the year, we went back and measured those 21 ideas from what we were doing and from what our competition was doing and said, hey, this is where we spent money, this is where we made money. So putting together an actual marketing plan, a marketing budget is crucial. We can help you with that. Here's just a list of some simple things that I've helped a lot of small business owners recently do. Obviously, social media is crucial. Having YouTube videos I mean, people go to YouTube more than they go to Google these days. Okay? They do. Always having something with you. All of you should today have a business plan, or not business plan, but a business brochure or a business card with you. I mean, it's one of those, don't leave home without it. I've got my keys, I got my wallet, I got my cell phone, I've got something about my business, because you never know where your next piece of business is coming from. Mailers, magnets, birthday cards, holiday cards. For when I was in business, I always sent out a card at Thanksgiving time, saying at this time of the year, I am blessed, I am thankful for our relationship. No one does Thanksgiving cards. You know, do something that stands out. I did things at New Year's time too. You know, after the holiday season, I always did things at New Year's because I said, you know what, we had a great year. I hope we can do more business together next year. And even if we don't, I appreciate and value our relationship. You got to stay in front of people. It's the old 30, 60, 90-day rule. When was the last time I talked to a potential client or existing client? In your mind, you've got to keep track. It's Jack McKay had an old system called the one-card system. How well do you know your clients and your customers? How strong is that relationship? I had a business owner one time, and his wife, he talked to me about it. I barely did any business with the guy. But he talked about his wife was suffering from, she had breast cancer, and she was not doing well. And his business wasn't doing well because he was spending so much time with her. She passed away. I went to the funeral reception to pay my condolences. And he said, you know what, Mike? He said, I've got friends, I've got family, I've got neighbor here, but nobody from a business standpoint came by to pay their condolences to my wife except for you. That stood out. I never, he said, that to me stood out, that I was the only person from a business standpoint that actually, listened to my clients and listened to my customers about, where they really were in their lives, where their kids want to go to college. What's happening in their lives. It's having a one-card system and understanding that. So, these are simple things. Speaking engagement, trade shows, testimonials, cross-promotion. We're doing more cross-promotion these days. I mean, that's like taking an attorney, a CPA, an accountant, or maybe a real estate agent, and they're doing things together because they know that their clients need all three of those services. So cross-promotion is very important. Leave behinds, all those kind of things. These are very inexpensive but very effective ways to market yourself. So this is the audience participation part of my presentation. So where do sales and customers come from? Number one, doesn't matter if you are a large company or a startup. Where do leads and customers, referrals, where do they come from? Word of mouth, referrals. I read Entrepreneurial magazine. It's a great, or Inc. magazine. Those are great for small businesses. They talk about small business issues. Referrals absolutely come number one. Number two is actually social media. Why? Because the millennials have the buying power right now. They are the largest in our economy. They do have the buying power. They are starting families. They are buying their first homes. They are done with college. Now, you may say, that's not my audience. But will it be? Again, we're supposed to be talking about sustainability. These 25-year-olds will become 30 and 35-year-olds. So it's where the millennials are going to be in 5, 10, 15 years from now. You may not be marketing to them now, but you may have to, may need to, because they own the buying power in our economy. Third, where's the third? Any other suggestions? So we know referrals. We know social media. What's another way? Where else do leads and generations come from? You do. Huh? Word of mouth is kind of from a referral standpoint, so that's number one. That's good. Marketing, yeah. I mean, so many business owners, they think they have a strong, they're marketing, but they're not tracking it. They're not really tracking. That's why, again, we'll do those search engine optimization reports for you. Google Analytics is a great way. It's, again, a free resource that's available. It's understanding and knowing your numbers. All right. 5 key elements. I always like to say this is typically what I see like in a sustainability statement. See, when I have business owners that come and they'd say, oh, yeah, I can do that. Okay, that's great that you can do that. I want to know what you have done. I want some testimonies. I want some proof. So I want to know your core competencies And I like to say is from a branding standpoint. Do you have a clear message? What's on your website? What's on your business card? What you say when you're out networking? Is it all the same message? Is it all the same message? Past performance, differentiators, things along those lines, your company data, contact information. I mean, these are all key elements. And if you need templates on things like that, that's great. We'll give you those kind of templates. We have capability statements, things along those lines. We can provide that kind of stuff for you. Anything along those lines. When it comes to things like today, from a networking standpoint, I was at the MWDBE conference, governmental conference last week, and there was over 400 business owners that were there at the casino, and maybe some of you were there as well. And I cannot tell you how many business owners came up to me, and they just fumble over their words. They can't even tell me what they do. Practice. Practice. If you need a focus group, if you need that, come into our office. We'll help you with that. I always like to say, practice in front of a mirror and practice in front of stuffed animals. Now, you may say, why would I practice in front of stuffed animals? Because their eyes don't move, okay? When you're talking to somebody, you're making eye contact. It's like, I tell my son, who's 12, who's always got something in his hand. He's always looking down. I said, eye-to-eye contact. These are kind of things that, when you're saying that, do you really have have you really practiced? If you're going to go out and network, and if networking and word of mouth is the best way to get referrals and leads and new clients and new customers, it's all in your presence. How do you present yourself? And can you cover these 10 areas? 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, things along those lines. Get that message out there. Let people know what you do. Because again, they may not be your customer, but their mother may be, their husband, their neighbor, things along those lines. Where your next piece of business is coming from, for me, is always how I thought. Where's my next piece of business coming from? Because I always want to make that thing sustainable. Also from a sustainability aspect, these are 3 things that I hear all the time, especially from more on the legal standpoint. Number 1, having a handbook. And people say, well, I have part-time, that's fine, or I have 1099 in place, that's fine. What's the attire? What's the language that they're allowed to use? Scheduling, handling money, things like that. We have a template that we can give you from a handbook that you can build. Everything that we try and provide is, I would say, is comprehensive, but it's customizable to your business. Think about like an inverted pyramid. It's comprehensive, but customizable for your business. So we can give you those kind of things. Employee contracts. We're in an at-will state. It means you can fire somebody at will, as most states are. We can give you, I had contracts with all of my employees. It let them know exactly what their paycheck, like my wife says, well, how much did you make this month? Well, do you want to know the net or the gross? When you're having paid time off with 10 national holidays throughout the year, taking those kind of factors into consideration. That's money. That's money to the business. So putting those kind of contracts, we can help you with that. And then also, even from a non-compete. Now, I know it's difficult to enforce, but you still can have that completed. It's very, very important. These are 3 crucial things to small businesses that are often missed. From a management standpoint as well, I always like to say is that there's things that you need to keep track of. It's tough to do as the business community grows, but what needs to be done weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, which department, or things along those lines. Whose task is it? Whose responsibility? When's it being completed? I use this all the time with small business owners. As the business grows, you're managing more. You've got to keep track of this stuff, staying more organized. Simple things like this can obviously be lifesavers. All right. When we end today, during our fireside chat, I actually brought 2 gifts, and we're going to pick 2 people randomly out of the attendance from registration this morning. We have 2 nice gifts from the university, some things to help you with your small businesses, so we have that for you later today. All right. I have a couple minutes. Questions, concerns, anything else I can answer. But all these kind of things I put together are ways to sustain your business no matter what industry that you're in as you want to continue to grow. because that's what we want to do. That's my job. My job is to sustain the economy in this region.
My name is Jennifer Olzinger. I'm Acting Director of the Office of Management and Budget, and I'm also, my day job is the Assistant Director for Procurement for the city. With me, I have Cody Winnesdorfer. He's one of our sourcing specialists for the city. He works on professional services contracts. We also have a team who work on what we call commodities and non-professional service type contracts as well. As we get into things today, I'll give you a little bit better explanation on the different types of contracts. But one of the first things that I want to make sure that everybody is aware of is our online system called Beacon. This is where we register vendors. This is where we put bids out. This is where we receive bids. This is where we show who is awarded bids. This is kind of our whole entire package around purchasing, except for right now contracts, but those are going to be built into this tool as well. So the first thing you want to do if you're interested in doing business with the city is to register on Beacon. That's the simplest, fastest, easiest way to notice. There's a lot more parts of it, but the biggest thing is making sure that you're registered for Beacon. There's always some announcements here. If there's any changes or things like that, there might be some announcements. So if you go to registration, it's very simple, just like registering for any sort of online tool. You need a little bit of basic information. There are instructions here if you need to pull up some more details. But the website tells you a little bit about doing business, asks you if you agree with our terms. It'll ask you for some organizational information. All you need to get started is basically your email address and your tax ID and your address. Anything else, you can always go back and fill out more of your profile information. But basically to get started, you need your email address that you want notifications to be sent to and your tax ID. Reason the tax ID is so important is they only allow one account per tax ID, so that companies don't have multiple people signing up. They're not sure, who's monitoring or who's getting notices on what. So the way that this website is designed and the software is designed by the manufacturer, they only allow one per tax ID. If you have signed up, if you forget what your login or anything is, there is always contact information down here at the very bottom. And you can email or call the customer support if you forget your password, if it's saying that you've already signed up but you're not sure, maybe somebody else at your company. You guys are smaller businesses, you probably wouldn't have that issue, but a lot of the bigger companies have that issue that, somebody signed up and they're getting notices, but we're not sure where they're going. So any sort of technical problems that you ever have if there's any issues with the site, you can call that. Yes?
Can you please tell what the new website is, address?
Sure. It's purchasing.pittsburghpa.gov. And Cody handed some sheets out today. If everybody got one of those, the web address is at the bottom of that as well. And we've got more, and we've got little business cards with it on there too, if that's easier for you. They do not. They use a system called Public Purchase. And that's about all I know about their system is the name of it. So I think it has a similar process. Anytime you want to see a bit of, let's see, I don't want to skip ahead too far. So once you fill in your contact information, you'll also pick some commodity codes and services, and I'll show you a little bit what that looks like in the other screen, because I can't go on unless I fill this out. So I'm going to show you what it looks in the logged in screen a little bit later. But it's important when you pick your commodity and service codes, when you're registering, this is important because this tells the system what types of things that you're interested in getting notifications for. If you think that you might fall into a couple categories, maybe you sell office supplies. Well, maybe I want to click office supplies, but maybe I want to click building and facilities supplies also, because I have some janitorial things that might fall under there. I would encourage you to kind of go middle of the road. Don't be too conservative, because you don't want to miss something, right? But if you pick everything, just in case you don't want, then you're going to get bombarded, and none of the emails are going to really be of value to you. So, choose those carefully. You can move and change and update those at any time. If you think that you're getting too many notices, too little notices, you can log in at any time and tweak those choices. I'm going to give you a little bit of what it looks like on the vendor side. So you can. It's also important to note that you don't have to be registered to see our bid opportunities. You only have to be registered if you want electronic notifications. And if you intend to bid, you will then have to register. But you don't have to register to see what's available. That's all public record, and just want to make sure that everybody knows that you don't have to be registered. So this particular account, it can shows that you're following the city of Pittsburgh. They have 11 formal requests and 16 formal requests. This account here is also following Nassau County. So if you're a vendor and you're signed up on this system, and there are other counties, areas, cities, aviation authorities, all kinds of different things that use this same system, just like some of the other systems he mentioned, like public purchase is what the county uses. There's multiple different systems that a lot of entities, you can follow more than one. So if you're out here exploring and you want to do business in more than just Western Pennsylvania, there might be organizations in Ohio, Maryland, other areas that you might be interested in bid on. So I would encourage you to not restrict yourself to the city of Pittsburgh when you sign up, but to also, pick and follow other cities or governmental agencies that might interest you as well. So if you want to view what the current solicitations are, if you're logged in, it will show you in two different ways. So this account, there's nothing listed in their list, which is my list. Maybe there's nothing for my particular category right now, but if I go to other active opportunities, you can always see everything that is out there. So this is your way to check to see if maybe there's something out there that you might be able to bid on, you might be interested in, or you might be interested in subcontracting because you can do a small portion of it. This is another place to look. If there is maybe a construction project and you have a hauling company, maybe you're not signed up for general construction, but you see that there's a general construction bid out there, and you can say, oh, I might be able to be a flagger on this project, or I might be able to do some hauling for them. Then you can look out and say, oh, who kind of holds these contracts for the city? And you can reach out to them and say, hey, let me be a subcontractor for you for a portion of this business. Yes, ma'am.
How do we find out who those contractors are?
It's coming. I'll get up there. I'll get there, but there's a whole portal that's coming up in a little bit that shows you how to look at the different contracts. So it can show you the ones that are out for bid, and then I can show you the existing ones as well. But just to make sure that you always want to look at this other active opportunities, just in case there's something out there that may pique your interest that isn't in your category that you have selected. Again, you can update those at any time. When we select them, we try to think of everything that applies, but we may miss something, or you may have not picked a category that you thought applied to you, and maybe it really does. So for contracts, you can look at our contracts. Now, right now, as I mentioned before, we have a current system that we are transitioning over to this system for contracts. So for right now, you're not going to see necessarily anything in our contracts while we transition from our old system to our new system. But in the meantime, you can see all City of Pittsburgh contracts, not just procurement related, so any sort of contract the city has That could be with any sort of agency, anything like that. So this is a site called Open Book. So this not only includes all procurement contracts, but any other contract that the city might have as well. This is, again, all public information, and any sort of contract you can search. What I like to encourage users to do, especially the small businesses that want to be those subcontractors and help the larger companies meet their goals, you can search by keyword. So let's say construction. You want to see what we have for construction. As you can see, it comes up with everything. So you can change the dates down here to obviously get things that are a lot more current. So maybe we want to change, that's not working, to 2017, and just look for things that are current within the last couple of years. This website is openbookpittsburgh.com. There are a lot of other things that you can search on here if anybody's ever curious, but the main thing that we want to show you is how to find contracts. So here's a particular one. This project has actually ended because it was from last year, but this is an engineering design service contract. Maybe you have some sort of expertise that you might want to offer somebody in this $732,000 contract, right? So you know, you can look through all of these types of contracts, depending on what you do. Maybe you're a demolition person. I always like to use, there's a woman that had used to come to these events, and I haven't seen her at a recent one, but she did this. She looked up our pre-qualified contracts for demolitions, saw who held those contracts, reached out to them, and now she hauls debris away for 2 of those companies just by marketing herself to the people who have these. So these pre-qualified contracts, demolition is a good one to look at. If you look on the contract, the pre-qualified ones have multiple people or companies on them. Oh, I'm not allowed to do a pop-up. Here we go. So you'll see various vendors. If there's more than one. Sorry, it's taking a little while to come up. But when this file does come up, you will see all of the different vendors and all of the contracts, their addresses and everything. Most of the time there's contract information or contact information in there as well. So you will know who the owner is, their phone number, and you can reach out to them and say, I see that you hold this contract. I think I could be of service to you. So this particular one, again, says various vendors, and as you scroll down, you'll be able to see the contract. So you can see, so like this particular one has seating and mulching in it as part of the contract for demolition. So when they demo a house, they have to grade the land and plant seeds and everything. If you're maybe a small landscaping company, maybe you want to come in and say, let me do that part of it for you. So you can move on to the next project. Let me grade the land and plant the grass seed and do that. So really on these types of things, you kind of got to get creative and you have to be really proactive if that's the type of opportunities that you are looking for. Also, if you're looking to be, you know, a prime contractor, that's again where you would come and look at our active solicitations. And these change day to day, hour to hour, anything like that. Particular ones that we have out now, we have some pre-quals that you could join if you are you know, a demo company, a general construction services company. We have one for printing services. What these pre-qualified contracts do, instead of being a primary award winner, we have a list of folks. A lot of times, there are a lot of small businesses, local businesses, and we take the lowest responsible bidder on those when a project comes up. So we don't want to have to go out to bid for a month every time we want to print some logos on some pens, right? So we do a pre-qualified contract for promotional items, and then if a certain department has a need, we say we want, 500 pens with this logo, blue ink, whatever that may be. And we put it out to those people who have already pre-qualified. They've shown that they have insurance. They've agreed to our terms and conditions. We've done the checks on them, and they're good companies. We've got a contract in place. Then we'll put it out to those people. Whoever responds, we take the lowest responsible bidder that meets our specifications. So, yes, sir.
So on that same line, is there, I get that it's an economic thing, is there typically a certification that may help fulfill a certain spend amount that you're looking for, like an 8A or a BBE or anything like that?
Right, so as part of the city's, and as far as subcontracting goes, what we look for and what our Equal Opportunity Review Commission looks for is the good faith effort of those companies to meet the city's goals. So right now, it's 18, 7, and 5. So it's 18% for women, 7% for minority spend, and 5% for a veteran-owned business. Any contract, right now, professional services of $50,000 or more, and construction $250,000 or more requires the prime contractor to have shown a good faith effort to make those numbers. Again, we can't hold them to the numbers. It is really a good faith effort, but they do have to go in front of our EORC commission and show that, if they've met, exceeded, or at least, made that good faith effort to try to get, so maybe they come up with, 10 and 5 and 3, but maybe that's all that they could do, as long as, they show the commission that good faith effort. So is what we're looking for in the city end. Yes, ma'am.
When you do that, can you find out what they actually pay those companies?
You can. That's another system. I don't know if it has a public portal, but the EORC, Chuck and Rick, who are in charge of today, they put out a report every year. I know our controller's office tracks it. I'm not sure how they report on that. I could find out for you. That's just not something that's handled by my office, but Chuck and they follow up with all of the vendors as to their plans that are presented to the commission, and they make sure that the vendors are reporting who they used and what they paid, and then they also call the subcontractors to make sure they've actually been paid, because if you don't get paid as a subcontractor, then we're not counting it towards their numbers until they pay you, and we make sure that that's done as well, so that they're not just saying it on paper, but they're actually doing it. So we verify. Well, Chuck and Rick do.
And actually, I'm a subcontractor through someone who has the prime with the city. And
Oh, great.
you guys do track to see if they paid you. So it's a really good system, because monthly you have to. They ask you in the website, do they pay you 10 days after your invoice? So they want to know. It's really good because it tells them that they paid you.
Were you here last year?
I was.
I think I remember last year, and you came, so it worked. So good. That's great. Yes, ma'am.
This one, sir?
This right here, this is Beacon. So this is the vendor view. So if you register on, like I showed you before, this is what a vendor sees when they log in. I can also show you the public-facing part. So this, again, this is if you hit on this registration button and you sign up and you get a login, this is the view that you see as someone logging in, rather than just, if you went to our site from the street. Now, if you didn't want to register, you just wanted to maybe peruse a little bit, see what was out there, you can do that at any time. You go under bid opportunities. And this allows you to search a lot of things. It pretty much brings up all of them. Where is my... There's normally, I apologize, there's normally a filter on the... There should be a filter on the left. Okay, I just must have a smaller screen here. I'm used to it popping up there. So you can look at ones that are awarded, any that we canceled, any that are closed but might not be awarded or anything yet. We got the bids in, but we're still evaluating. And ones that are actually open. So the ones that are open are the ones that are still taking responses. But again, you can look at old ones, awarded ones to see who's gotten the contracts. And then these are all of the different types. The best thing to do to start, I guess, is to look at open ones. Again, depending on what you're looking for. How do I? It's not hiding. If I can make this. Apologies. Oh, there we go. I usually go with the end date ascending because this tells you what's closing first. So right now, we don't have a ton out here right now. We have probably more RFPs than low bids. But again, the sheets that we passed out is a current snapshot. I think there's a couple new ones and a couple things that have closed since I printed those last week. But I wanted to give you some of those older examples, like the little RFQs for tents or smaller things. Those are purchases, one-time purchases under $30,000. These FIFB contracts, these are what we call our commodity and non-professional services. So these, anything that you see that has this FIFB in the front of it, that's usually a single awardee. It's either lowest overall or lowest by line item. So if there's 500 line items, you could have 5 vendors that get 100. And kind of spread it out. Kind of depends on the situation and the lines and the type of contract it is. Obviously, with traffic signals, if you have installation and removal, you don't want one person removing them and one person installing them. So that's something that you would go with one lowest overall bidder. But if you're talking about, medical supplies and Band-Aids and gauze and things like that, we want to go lowest by line item because that's, in the best interest of the city and our taxpayer dollars. So we kind of look at them, different ones. This is a design one that we have out now. This is an RFP. So anything that is request for proposal that starts with an RFP is not based solely on cost. Cost is part of the factor, and there are other criteria that change in each bid as depending on, what they are. Sometimes they want to see, project examples. This one is a design one, so they're going to want to see some examples of your work, and they're going to want to, see this is something, when you're designing a park that's going to last for the next 50 to 100 years, you want to make sure that you're doing it right, not just taking the lowest priced person, right? So this is where quality and other factors also get considered with cost. Things like software, things like that are also in here. And then we do have the RFQs. These are one-time purchases under $30,000. So this particular one, the police are looking for a currency scanner. I'm assuming that's probably something that tells them if it's counterfeit or something like that. So if you sell scanners or things like that, you could have a one-time opportunity, even though, a lot of times, I want to, sell you all your printers and all your scanners. Well, okay, that contract we already have, it's out for 5 years. People don't want to sign up, sometimes they don't sign up for Beacon. They say, I'll just check in 5 years. But we could have these smaller little projects in between or one-time purchases that you'd miss out on if you're not registering and picking that you sell printers and scanners. Might not be necessarily, something that you do, but again, you would miss that notification entirely if you're not looking at Beacon or checking that other activities, other solicitations. It might be something that comes up like that that you can do that would not be a typical thing. Let's see, I have about, do I have till 10:45 or 11? Yes, ma'am.
I assume on the registration page,
Mhm.
there's some place to put in that you're
Yes.
And there's you put in a certification number?
You can upload your certification. So yeah, so here's one of the things here. If it says, it asks about these types of things. So as you get into the screens where you fill out your organizational information, your contact information, it will ask you this kind of things. What areas in the city do you serve? If it's the whole city, maybe, I only do east, I do south. And then there's an area that talks about certifications. If you have multiple, you can upload information on multiple. But when you do apply for something, you can only obviously be one at a time. So if you are a minority business and a woman-owned business, when you're applying for something, you can only qualify under one or the other, especially if you're being a subcontractor. They can't use you twice as a minority and a woman. They have to pick. Or if you're a minority and a veteran, or whatever combination, right? They have to pick one. They can't use the same company twice and count them in their numbers twice. So we're very particular about that. We want to make sure nobody's double dipping.
And the certifications, somewhat, certainly, I'm sure you're not going to, they give you a little bit of an advantage or extra consideration if all prices be equal.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. I would assume it's price first and then.
On the low bids, yes. Yeah, but then, everything else being equal, if, you're gonna give me that currency scanner for $5,000, two of you have $5,000, and you're a minority business and you're not, well, then that's where we're gonna go, to break the tie. So,
Now, do you all only post on your Beacon, or do you post on SAM.gov as well?
no, we do not. We post on Beacon. We sometimes run ads in the newspaper, depending on the type of project it is, when it's either required or, we really want to do extra outreach. But mostly Post-Gazette or Beacon. Now, there are other companies that sweep our site, like Pittsburgh Builders Exchange. They go out there all the time and repost our stuff to the different trades and companies that they have. There's some of the unions, I think, do that too. Send it out to their businesses and cross post and stuff like that. Yes, sir.
What type of bids are required? I've been told this before, but I can't remember. What type are required to be put in the paper?
Right now, only CDBG. Anything with HUD money is actually required. There are some PennDOT contracts, anything federal. But as for, the city itself, it's basically dependent on the type of funding. So when that is actually, the newspaper stuff is actually required rather than not, people are really moving away from that. People don't pick up the newspaper anymore. So everybody wants, their alerts and things like that.
But it's
So.
not a category based, like.
No, it's not.
Here, that, okay.
No, it's basically just, according to regulation and where the money's coming and whose rules we're following at the time, depending on, like I said, the grant or if it's federal money or if it's state money. Everybody has their own rules that we have to follow depending on the funding source. So, is there anything else that you guys would like to see while we're talking here?
If there's only one login per tax ID number,
Mm-hmm.
who do you recommend that being? Do you recommend it being the principal of the firm or the marketing person, the person who's doing the RFPs? Who do you recommend that being?
A lot of times in small businesses, that's all the same person. But I would think you would, if it were me and I had a staff, I would make that assign that to my marketing person. And the person who would actually be responding, and then they could bring you the opportunities to say, hey, there's these 3, is there any that you're interested in, just to keep in, I would, maybe make it part of their, once a week or every other week, go check, make sure we're not missing anything, or, and the county has a similar site, the housing authority, the URA, everybody has sites that they post on there. I would, probably work it into my routine somehow to just check them all on a regular basis for things, because they're all a little bit different. The notifications all go out kind of at different times, so Yes, ma'am.
What do you require to prove that you are a minority, woman, or veteran-owned?
Your certification. For veteran-owned, just is, there's not like an actual certification for that, so we just take a DD 214.
So, excuse my ignorance, there's a certification that I would need to be a woman-owned business?
Yes, the PAUCP,
I'm sorry, say that.
PAUCP is the certifying body. The County of Allegheny, their MWDBE office actually will walk you through that, even do it for you. I think it's $25 or something very, very small for the fee. It paperwork and, 30 to 60 days by the time it goes through all of the things that the paperwork has to go through and those. But Chuck and or Rick can talk to you guys a little bit more about that. I'm not sure if anybody's here from the county office.
Chatham University, the CWE, the Center for
They help you too, yeah.
They also help with getting you certified.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to be a super complicated process. It's just, they want a lot of paperwork.
And I recall it being free.
It might be.
I never paid.
It is free?
Require a capability statement at all?
We don't require it to bid on anything. As some of our proposals, we might, and depending on the thing. But to bid or just to register, no, you can't. I mean, there's a whole vendor information section. You can give us as much information as you want, but the only thing that's required really is, an email address and a tax ID and some basic information. If you want to proactively upload your insurance, you can, but we don't require that. If, you can mark that you're woman-owned. You don't have to put your certificate in. If we have it, that's great. But at the time of contracting, we would ask for it anyway. A lot of times they end up getting expired and things like that. If you load them, so we'd have to ask for a new one anyway. I'm not sure how often those, every year do they expire? So, again, you can give as much as you want, but we require, very little to get started. We also, don't give this list out to anybody other than other authorities that would be trying to reach your businesses. We do a lot of cross-posting for each other, so we may have the housing authority, hey, we're trying to do more outreach. Do you have anybody in this category that, that we can send it out to? So, but we're not going to sell your information to, Google or anything like that. So, I kind of wanted to tailor it to, what you guys were interested in seeing. If you wanted to talk about, more of the subcontracting, more of the prime contracting, and, what you guys wanted to learn about, so. Or more of just kind of the process in general. Oh, I got 5 minutes? Okay. So,
General question.
yes.
I was wondering why there are all these different sites. Is it just a matter of like, well,
No.
you made the selection of Beacon the best one in your opinion? Like what?
Oh, gosh. You mean for the different purchasing tools? Yeah, you know what? It's all, I guess, on everybody's business need. We went through an RFP process, and this is a system that we end up with. The county's on one because it's free. We wanted something a little more robust and something a little more customizable. So that's why we went with something that we wanted to pay for to get that service and get some customizable things. So, but I mean, there, as with any sort of tool out there, there's a bunch of them. So it's a personal preference, I guess, and what you guys are, what everybody's looking at cost. Yes, ma'am.
The information that is on open book is eventually just going to be on Beacon.
Some of the procurement related contracts, this here, we'll basically be linking that information. But it'll still
be on open book.
It'll still always be on Open Book. Open Book's the system of record for everything, invoices, our audits, all of that kind of stuff. And they, like I said, they have every contract. We're only going to have the procurement-related ones on ours. But if there's, some sort of, like the agreement between the city and PWSA that we're going to plan together when we pave roads, right? Those little contracts like that aren't procurement-related, they all are still on Open Book as well. So that's like probably, not interesting to anybody in this room, but you never know. But Again, this will only be our contracts, things that were bid. But there are, tons of types of agreements that are out there, and old ones too, historical data that goes back a good 10 years, 12, maybe 20, so. You have any other questions? Okay. Well, if anybody wants to walk through registering or has any questions, feel free. Cody and I have cards here. You can reach out. You can also email just procurement@pittsburghpa.gov. Our information's, again, at the bottom of the website if you ever have questions. Anything, again, technical related, if you forget your login or find that somebody's registered and you weren't sure who, you can contact WebProcure, who runs the system, and they can reset your password or let you know who the person is that registered, so you can go say, oh, they don't work here anymore or whatever, and get that updated. We have some frequently asked questions. Other than that, we have all of our contacts on here too. Benefits of, I mean, there's, a lot of the boring general stuff, but again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Bids change all the time, so, please take a look at your leisure. Any questions on certification, Rick or Chuck can get you directed on those. Rick, is the county here? No, the county. Oh, okay, we had a lady that was asking about registration, and I wasn't sure if the county was here to help, so. But they're really good at that and walking everybody through that process. So help make it faster and less painful. So well, if nobody else has any questions, thank you all for coming. We'll stick around a few minutes. If you have anything else.
Problems that women have in business today. This is going to be interactive, so I need you to participate. So, biggest problems women have in business today. I'm going to call on you for the first one. Come on. Funding. What else? I feel like you guys are so far away. Like, if you want to move up, that would be cool, but if you don't, I might come down there. I'm coming down there. Can I come down there, or do you want me to stay up here? Hi, that would be really great, because short people really have issues anyway, so if I'm on your level, I'll be much happier. Okay. But can you see me down there? All right. Come on down. That's good. Woo, 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 woo. Yay! All right. What are the biggest problems that women have in business today? Funding. What else? Visibility. What else? One more time? Having a seat at the table. What else? Being taken seriously. Yes. What else? What else? Confidence. The ability to take risks. Okay, what else? How about over at this table? Biggest problem women have in business today? Anything is good. Confidence is good. Confidence? Confidence? All right, ladies at this back table, you think I can't see you. Time! Yes, time is good. What else? Any other thoughts about biggest problem women have in business today? Childcare is a huge problem. Asking for help. Women don't ask for help. They think that they can do everything themselves, but they can't. I'm everything and everywhere. Wrong, you can't be. All right, how about you? Biggest problem women have in business today is? I just answered all of them. What do you think the biggest problem that women have in business today? Support from their significant others. I love you. I'm taking you home with me. Okay, this table has been way too quiet. What do you think? Like support systems, networking, battling between coworkers, right, not lifting each other up. All right, one more from this nice gentleman here. What do you think? That's a really wuss answer. Okay, come on, give me something else. Come on, come on. Time is really important. Time is really, really important. Okay, any other inspirational thoughts? You look like you were about to inspire us. Yeah, you did. Childcare is huge. In other countries, like childcare is built into the work and it's taken care of, and you don't have to choose between working and your kids. One of my first businesses that I started was called Toledo Area Parent News. It was way long ago when there were newspapers. There still are newspapers, but it was a parent newspaper. We started a city paper. We had a baby magazine. Okay, it was 1990, so do not do the math, and don't ask me who my hairdresser is. Okay, because back then, there was no way to find out about how to be a parent and how to learn where your kids should go to camp and how to be a great mom and how to be a really good mom when you're falling apart. So I started a parent newspaper in 1990 in Toledo, Ohio, with another woman who had a really great life before she met me. She was a graphic designer. She had like a quiet business. And I said to her, I had moved there. My husband's a professor here at Pitt, and he was a professor in Toledo. And I said, I've seen these parent newspapers in other cities, and I've studied everything there is to know about them. And I want to start one here, and I'm not a designer, but I can do all the marketing and sales. And she's like, I don't think it's going to work here. Well, if you're an entrepreneur, those are fighting words when somebody dares you to start something. So I went out, I sold ads for this paper, which was a free paper. She's like, that was luck. I did it again. And 7 years later, a $150,000 line of credit, an $80,000 loan. We mortgaged our kids, our dogs, our husbands, our lives, our cars, everything we had. We had $1 million company. We had 25 full and part-time employees. We had Toledo Area Parent News, Toledo Baby Steps. We had Toledo City Paper. We had Ann Arbor Parent. We had a back-to-school fair. 1990 to 1998. We just totally went for it. And the one thing I didn't hear you guys say, it's not the most important thing, we think big, like really, really big. Think big or go home. You got to think really big. You have to think outside the box. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to be totally afraid sometimes. You have to be like a duck. Calm on the outside and paddling like you know what underneath. Because that is really what it's like to be a real entrepreneur. You have to take risks. You know, there are no risks, no gain, but I'm not talking about like crazy risks, like casino risks, like spending all your money at a casino. Because that's basically just a tax, and they're winning, and you're losing. Because Las Vegas was not built on winners, just saying. It's calculated risk. Because I did all the homework, and I became an expert in what parent publications were all about. And I studied the other ones. There was an association of parent papers. So if you have a notebook, or if you have somewhere to write things down, I'm going to give you like 15 brilliant tips. And you can throw it all away and just remember a couple if you like. But I think the most important thing was, for me, you have to really be an expert. So whatever you do, and I know you heard from Nikki already, she's totally an expert in that space. If you asked me to go in that space, I'd be like, what? Like, I just ran and put some lipstick on before I got in here. But this lady knows what she's doing, and she knows the market, and she knows her competition. So you have to be an expert in what you do. And I became an expert in parent publications. Now, I sold my half of the company in 1998, 99 to my partner. And what was coming? What was not around in 1990, for those of you who are moderately old, and was around in 1998, 99. cell phones, internets. So I knew that things were going to have to change. And the sign of a great entrepreneur is somebody who knows when to get in and when to get out. And the greatest thing is any business that's worth its weight in gold should be going on after the founder leaves. And so actually my partner is running the company now, which is awesome, because when we got to that $1 million mark, you know what I didn't know? I didn't know if I could make payroll the next day. Because we grossed $1 million, and I say to our students at Chatham, I made $1 million, and they're like, oh, Miss Harris, why are you working? You're a millionaire. I'm like, no, I'm not. I could barely make payroll because that was gross and this is net. So the day our accountant said, you just broke the $1 million mark, I turned to her and said, do you think I can make payroll today? That was really scary because as you grow, your expenses grow. So the second thing you must know is you must own your numbers. You must love them or hate them, but you gotta know them. And what are these financial balance sheets and income statements and cash flow and all that nonsense? I mean, it is a bunch of nonsense, except for it's not. Because the people who know their numbers win in the end. Nikki, what are the cost of goods sold for you? What does one wand cost? To get it over here is $1.28. What are your markups? Percentage? Between? Just give me a, You go percentage-wise. You would mark it up between X and Y. Okay, she sells it wholesale for $5, and they sell it for $10. So she's getting $5. She's paying $1.28 to get it over here. Now, she's got other costs in there, too, but she knows her cost of goods sold. It's pretty simple. What is your cost of goods sold? Because your cost of goods sold, the cost of your service, the cost of what it takes to produce what you have is what's going to basically take you down to what's left for me. Because if you are not paying yourselves, after a while, we didn't pay ourselves for like 6 years. It is still not a business. It is a hobby. You got to pay yourselves because you are worth all the money that you put in, the time and the effort and the sacrifices. And really what you have to think about is the opportunity cost. Because if you had taken all those hours and all those years and done something else, what would you have made? Would you be happy or not happy? I don't know. I can't answer those questions for you. But sometimes we find that women don't pay themselves because they dump it all back in. And guess what? They get resentful and mad and pissed off. And their family and their partners and their spouses all say, well, it's not really a business because you're not making money. And you're like, wait, I am working 24/7. This is definitely a business. So Nikki knows her cost of goods sold. Those are numbers. The numbers are really easy. One of the things we do at the Center for Women's Entrepreneurship and in our Women Business Center is we have like concept to launch, a 6-week class. We have one-on-one business counseling. That's all free. We help you understand what all that is. We do webinars. So I can talk more about that in a little bit, but I want to tell you that owning your numbers is something that we tend to shy away from, and I do it too. Like when my budgets come in, so I run my center like a business. I am an intrapreneur, I-N-T-R-A, intrapreneur. That was a term that was coined in 1978 by a guy named Pinoche, who was a marketing guy. But it was really used in 1984 by who? Guesses? Yes. Oh, you're brilliant. What did he say? You're sort of brilliant, but you're right. Steve Jobs, he said what? If you were Steve Jobs, what would you say? Every day you come to my place is a new day. I want you to think like an entrepreneur. You are really an intrapreneur. You're going to act and think entrepreneurially within this company. Because what you did yesterday is great, but it's not good enough for tomorrow. Why do you think Google has PlayStations and food and jumping balls and music rooms? It is not because they want their employees to have fun. They want them to be creative and think, and they give them 15% of their time to create new products and services for the company. But that's brilliant. So for those of you who are maybe in transition or don't yet have a business, think about entrepreneurship, and you can read about it. I'm an entrepreneur now. I work at Chatham University, but you better be sure. I have a budget. We have staff. I better have new programs. I know what my competition is doing. I know what was good last year and the year before, but I got to invent new stuff. Right now, we're designing a new program for women who want to get to the $1 million mark. They're more advanced in their businesses, 200, 300,000, but they haven't figured out how to get to $1 million. 1.2% of all women-owned companies get to the $1 million mark. 6% of all male-owned companies get to the $1 million mark. And why is that? Why is it? Why? Time, childcare, risks. Men start their companies with twice the amount of money that women do. Men take more risks than women do. We're talking about men, so you're fine. Not to worry. You're going to give us all money. That's good. Men ask more than women do. And many times men don't take no as a no. So here's the next profound thing I'm going to tell you. No is just the next step in the negotiation. If somebody says no to you, I get told no a lot by my university. Not no directly, but like, I don't think so, Rebecca. Because as an entrepreneur, I have to start new programs, I have to compete, I have to do something differently. So I'll say, I want to do this, and they'll be like, nah, that's not really, I'll be like, well, what if I come back to you in a few weeks and have done some research on X? And then they'll say, okay, that sounds good. So that no just turned into a, oh, okay, maybe. So it didn't shut, the door was not shut. And you cannot take no's personally. Business is not about being personal. I think that's one of the things that makes women great in business, and one of the things that is our downfall. We take things personally. A lot of studies have shown, Ernst & Young and Catalyst and all these companies have done studies that show that women who are in the C-suite and women on boards of directors, so vice presidents, presidents, CFOs, CEOs, companies that have more women in the C-suite and more women on the board of directors, those companies actually have higher sales, higher return on investment. Why? Why? Anybody want to guess? Because women tend to manage inclusively. It's not necessarily top down. And because women are more risk averse. So when you get to the top of the top and some of the men are going, we're going to go for the friggin' moon, and the women are like, nah, we're just going to settle for like a small satellite. That'll be fine. So the things that make us great leaders can also be our downfall. So some of the things that we do at the Center for Women's Entrepreneurship, we help you go through your numbers. We work with the URA, getting you loans and working to get you loans. A lot of women say to me, 60% of all women in a National Association for Women Business Owners fund their businesses with credit cards, family money. Do not do that, please. Banks want to give you money. Nonprofit lenders want to give you money. The URA has money. Bridgeway Capital has money. Here's the key. You will have to put some money in because that shows that you have skin in the game. But the minute you start borrowing money, it means you're a serious player. And the minute you start borrowing, like what we did, we started with $750 in the business I talked to you about each. But then we started making a little money, and then we went to a bank right away. Now, I didn't get $80,000 off the bat. They gave us a little, then we came back. Because you establish credit, that means you're in the game. But if all of a sudden you go to a bank and you say, yeah, well, I have a $200,000 company, and they're like, well, what bank are you working with? Where are you? What's your credit rating? You're like, I funded it all myself. No! Let them take the risk. It's easier said than done, and I'm not trying to be contrived about this. But you start with a $20,000 loan, And so that's some of the things that the URA and other organizations have, and we help you put together that paperwork, and we help you find the people that can help fund you. Because once you are funding and once you're starting to pay back money, you're really a part of it. Venture capital. Women get 4% of all venture capital money. Only 4%. What? Now, venture capital is for more risky businesses. We get that. We understand that. But I think a lot of it has to do with asking. Ask, 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 ask. Angel money is between venture capital, where a venture capital person will take an ownership of your company, a piece of your company. Angel investors will give you money, not expecting a lot in return. And then there's loans, banks, nonprofit organizations. There's crowdfunding. There are ways to raise money, but I love regular, established organizations that give out money, Bridgeway Capital, because then you are working with a financial institution, and I don't care if you start with $10,000 or $5,000. It's the beginning. So the next thing on your list is to do a negotiation gym, because you are going to get used to being told no, and you're going to get used to asking. So here's the first thing you're going to do. I was taught this by my wonderful friend, MJ Tassi, who's no longer with us. She passed away about 5 years ago now. But she started the Heinz Negotiation Center for Women. And she taught negotiation. She was a lawyer, and she was amazing. So she said, she and Linda Babcock from CMU started the negotiation gym. And here's how it goes. The first week, you go out and ask for something that's a little uncomfortable, but not too bad. The next week, you go out and ask for something that's harder. And the third week, you really push the envelope. You ask for something that you would normally never ask for. And here's the deal. If you get a no, the sky doesn't fall, nobody dies, nothing terrible happens, because a negotiation gym is a way for you to feel like it's going to be okay if I ask and get a no. So I did this. So the first week I decided I'm going to I think it's called Tuesdays, or the dollar store over in Bakery Square. We live near there. And I had been checking out this table. I really wanted this table, like a little table, but it had kind of a ding on it. I took my daughter, who was in college at the time, and I said, okay, Alicia, I got to get this table. So she's like, whatever, Ma. You know that, whatever, Ma. So I go in, I get the table, I go up to the cash register, there's a bunch of people behind me, and I said to the lady, who was about 10, maybe she was 16, I don't know. I said, I want to buy this table, but there's a ding, so I'd like to have you give me some, a discount. My daughter's like, oh my God, Mom, we don't negotiate it in the United States. What are you doing? Like, this is the price of this. You're so embarrassed. So this is in front of all these people. I said to her, Alicia, go get in the car, please. Please, get in the car. So the saleswoman, poor thing, she was like so shocked. She's like, I don't think we usually do that, but I'm going to go ask the manager. She came back, she's like, yeah, the manager said I can give you 10% off. I'm like, yes! Because it's not something I would normally do, and I felt a little uncomfortable, but I did it. And if she said no, that would be okay too. Came out with the table to my car, and my daughter's like, I really can't stand you anymore, Mom. And we're so close. And the next week I did something else. And the third week, I asked one of my administrators, not for a raise, but raises are good, but for something else that she could give me, but if she didn't give it to me, I would be okay. And I was pretty afraid about that one, because I was like, am I pushing it? Am I not pushing it? And I could hear sort of, when I asked her, it was a phone call because she couldn't see me in person, and there was this like, okay, Rebecca, okay. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was such a feeling of empowerment, and it wasn't anything huge, but it felt really good. So I want you to do a negotiation, Jim, because MJ and Linda Babcock have been negotiating for the price of gas for the last 20 years. Now, when was the last time you went to a gas station and asked for a discount on your gasoline? Raise your hand. I don't see any hands. So they thought, you know what, we're going to do this because, and they had their students do it. They said they didn't do it in their own neighborhoods because that would be a little embarrassing. But every time they went on big trips, they had big cars. They'd go up to the gas station attendants and say, look, I have this huge Suburban, I have this huge blank. I'm gonna fill the whole thing up. I'm probably gonna put, I don't know, $60, $50 in this car. I want 10% off on a total fill-up. I'm like on empty. Okay, then the gas station attendants would be like, lady, what? You know, they'd be like haggling back and forth. So guess what they got? Guesses? Anyone? 5% is one guess. What else? Other guesses? Free pack of gum is another good guess. 10%. What else? No? It's not a bad answer. What else? Okay, here's what they got. They got a no on the gas, but you know what they got? They got gum. They got pop. They got free car washes. They got chips. They got, I mean, you wouldn't believe what they got. Unbelievable what they got. They had like stashes of promotional stuff. They got, you know, money off of your next service. They got everything. They didn't get the gas discounted. So you're right about that. But the idea was they asked and asked and asked and asked and asked, and then it stopped feeling so scary. So part of the thing that we need to feel as women in business, whether you own a company or you're in a company, is that it's okay to take risks. And actually, it's more than okay, it's required. Okay, so moving along. We know that since 2007, the number of women entrepreneurs in the U.S. has increased 30%. That is a ton. And we have surpassed the number of men who have started businesses as well. And about 1,800 women launch new businesses a day. That's net, so some stop and some start, but that's a lot of businesses. And listen to this, it's estimated that if there were more gender parity in entrepreneurship and women started businesses at the same rate that men did, the global GDP would increase by $28 trillion by the year 2025. If more gender parity existed in entrepreneurship and women started businesses at the same rate that men did, the global GDP would increase by $28 trillion by 2025. So we know that gender disparity exists. That's some of the discussions here today. We understand that we need techniques to overcome the barriers of entry into the entrepreneurial space. So here's the other things. You have to be an expert. Next tip is you cannot be afraid to fail. I had a company that made huge nets that you could swim in so you wouldn't get stung by jellyfish in the Chesapeake Bay. Now, what do you think the demand for that was? Not so big, right. First, you had to have a boat or a dock. Second, you had to have money that you would want to spend on that. Third, you'd have to be out there in July and August when the jellyfish are there. There's so many conditions. Fourth, a competitor came along. Now, I hear from women entrepreneurs all the time, oh, a competitor came and is doing the same X. And I say, that is awesome. I want to see those competitors every single day because you know what it means? They have verified that product or service in your space. If there are no competitors, none, zero, zip, there might be something wrong with your product or service. I mean, unless you're like the light bulb, maybe when FedEx came in, Uber, like those are highly unique. But if there are competitors, how do you, somebody said to me, well, why aren't you just a center for entrepreneurship like IEE? I can't do that because I am women. I know women, I specialize in women, I did it before. This is my expertise. If I were just an entrepreneurial center, I'd be competing with Pitt. Like, they're huge. I can't do that. And Duquesne, they're like huge. So having competition is good. You have to be okay with failing because from that company, I started a company called Becky's No Cholesterol Delights, and I went into the operation of making food, no cholesterol brownies and cookies, because my dad had high cholesterol, and we wrote to Ennemann's and said, why are there no products that have no cholesterol? And they said, there'll never be a market for those. That was early, before there were no cholesterol products. So I went in and made industrial strength bakery goods, like 50 pounds. Don't ever just up a recipe. If you're taking your mom or your grandma's favorite brownie recipe and turning it into no cholesterol, you do not increase the amount of salt by the same amount as the original recipe. I learned that the hard way. Anyway, I had Becky's no cholesterol delights. Eat them to your heart's content. I had them made in an industrial bakery. It was my recipe. I took them up and down the East Coast in my little car. And the food business is hard. Who's in the food business now? Is anybody in it? Okay. Food businesses are tough. There's a lot of regulations. I had to get labeling, da-da-da-da-da. Well, you make only pennies by the time I paid everybody. I mean, cost of goods sold. But I wasn't able to keep up, and I kind of didn't want to because I did not have the passion. So that is my next point. You must be passionate about this business. If you do not have the passion to be a 24/7 person for years, get out. It is so hard. Is it hard, Nikki? It's friggin' hard. It's really hard. It's wonderful and fulfilling, but it's really hard. Get feedback. If you haven't asked anybody to evaluate your product or service and be really honest with you, we just had somebody who presented a program for us at our center, and they asked for feedback, and I could either give them, the happy, or I could tell it like it was, and I told it like it was. So ask for feedback and be able to handle it. Keep learning. Either take massive online classes, read books all the time on entrepreneurship, scan articles all the time. Make sure you are reading and learning every single day, because that's what makes you an expert. And here's the thing, ask for what you need. Ask. If I came up to you and said, I really need help with my ex, would you be willing to evaluate this and maybe take a mini survey? What would you say? Sure, she said sure. So what is preventing her from asking me? Oh, I might take up her time. I hate to ask. Maybe it's too much of a burden. Forget it. If you don't ask, you will get nowhere. I've heard men ask for the most inane things, like, really, guys? And they get them because they ask. So ask. Networking. You must network. The word networking has the word work in it. Work. It's not easy. Do not go to a networking event where you basically know everybody and you stand with your friends. That is a no-no. You must go to places where you do not have a good comfort level and you cannot talk to your friends. So here's what you do. Okay, stand up. I'm sorry, I have to pick on you, Tracy. It's going to be ugly. You'll be okay with it, I promise. Okay. Okay. Tracy, I promise it's going to be okay. It might be okay. All right. Hi, I'm Rebecca Harris. It's really nice to meet you. What's your name? And what do you do, Tracy? No, you just have to turn around, that's all. Just so they can see, yeah. Yeah, it's good. No, just look at me, though. You don't have to look at them. What do you do? Wow, that's great. Who are your customers? Awesome. So if you stand over here, you ask me the same question. Pretend you're me. Hi, start. Hello, Rebecca. I've heard you're really a big loudmouth and that you just won't stop. No. Hi, I'm Tracy. So I have a t-shirt company. It's a Rockstar t-shirt company. We customize amazing products and services. Can I follow up with you and tell you more about it? Got it? By the time she was on her third sentence, I was like, oh my God, I can't listen anymore. Like, she's got the swim team and she's got the soccer team. I don't care. Okay, let's try it. No, you stand up here, Tracy. You're not done yet. Okay, let's do it again. So, I said, I have a customized t-shirt business. Could I follow up with you at another time? So what are you going to say to that? Okay, now, Tracy, I have a jacket on. I always wear jackets to networking events. In my right pocket are my cards. Tracy, here's my card. Could I have your card, please? Where is your card right now, Tracy? Oh, shoot. Tracy. You win. Tracy, give her a hand, a really big hand. All right, I did this for a group from PNC that was learning networking. I had a woman stand up who had a bag, can I hold this up? About 6 times the size of this bag. I had a gentleman stand up. I did it with him, pull it out of his wallet. I had the woman stand up. By the end of the 4 minutes, she had dumped the bag on the floor, everything, pulled out her card, bright red. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you. I think I gave her a free, I don't know what. That was excellent. But your elevator pitch is 2 sentences because nobody reads more than 1 or 2 sentences anymore in their lives, unfortunately, because of these ridiculous mobile devices. And you better capture me, and then you better ask if you can follow up because I might be a buyer. So I put an ask in, and I told her that I was great. I said, I have the most amazing customized t-shirt business you've ever seen, or something like that. I mean, it could be a little bit, that's a little loud. I have a customized t-shirt business that uses a state-of-the-art blah to do blah. Could I follow up with you afterwards? Never drink at a networking event. Stand in line for drinks. Yeah, they're all laughing over that table. Stand in line for drinks because that's how you meet people. So you stand in line, you're like, hi, I'm Rebecca. I don't really know anybody here, but who are you? Then you get a seltzer water because the last thing you want to do is network with somebody who's like flat drunk. It's terrible because you are professionals, because you are working at your networking. If you want to go out partying, please do that. Okay, next. Have big plans, big, 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 big. Don't have small, have big. I'm really a proponent of some kind of business plan, and I don't care if you do this or you do this, and you write it like this. We have 1 million templates. At our Women Business Center, I'm going to click on that in a minute. Actually, can I ask, I'm sorry, I forgot your name again. Michael, can you just go click on the Women Business Center right there? Just click on that box. On our website, Women Business Center, we have 1 million templates, 1 million ways for you to build a business plan. You will need to have a business plan if you go find money, but it doesn't have to be like rock star business plans. It just has to be a business plan, the box. There you go, click there. Yeah, there you go. So this is our Women Business Center. That's Ann. She just got a big award. We won the Women Business Center of the Year last year from the SBA, one of 114 in the country, and we were number 1. Woo! Thank you very much. Okay, scroll down. There we go. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. There we go. Stop. Free business counseling and technical assistance. You click there, and that'll help you. Talks about all the things we do and all the other things. That's good. Thank you. That's great. Okay. Because you do have to have a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, how's anybody going to believe you? All right, there's a whole movement called #Don'tDoItAlone. #Don'tDoItAlone. Many of us have started our own businesses. The gig economy is huge. More and more people are going to be using the gig economy. So if you haven't researched gig, G-I-G, economy, there's big money. 40% of all workers will be members of the gig economy by the year 2040, meaning doing jobs that are not just within one company for their lives. But what does it mean? How do you get in? What are the credentials you need? That's important. And be confident. We talked about the duck. I love the duck. So the biggest challenges that women face, and we talked about this earlier, are funding. In 2019, there was a bunch of studies that were done, so I did my research, and I studied funding. It's still going to be hard. I'm not lying to you. So you want to make sure your credit is good. You want to make sure that you are building up some assets. And I'm not saying you have to buy a house. I'm not saying you have to have major capital. I'm saying be smart about it. Make sure you have your own personal bank account. Make sure you're doing some saving of your own. You will be asked to put skin in the game when you start your own business. Marketing. Okay, I have told you all about myself a little bit. But if you are not marketing and talking about yourself, nobody else is. Now, this is an example of a woman who is a brilliant marketer. Follow her. Follow Nikki. Okay, I mean, you are brilliant. Stop it. Like, you are your brand. I do not ever want to see on your Facebook and your web pages and your LinkedIn and your Instagram, hi, this is me when I'm off. Hi, this is me when I'm in my business. Because guess what? It's all the same. You are your brand 24/7. Because when people are buying from you, they're buying your integrity, they're buying who you are as a person, and then you're buying your product. Because people buy from people that they like. Because 800 people have t-shirt companies, but I like Tracy because she had a card in her pocket, and she was really nice. She seemed professional. I haven't checked out her company, but I bet if I looked at all of her stuff, she's probably pretty sincere. I mean, I don't know for sure, but that's what people want. And they have 1 second to make that decision. When I talk to some of our students, I'm like, okay, let's just pull up your Facebook page. They're like, well, there's my private one and my public one. I'm like, no. What do you think we do when we interview people? Do you think we go to your references? No. First, we go to all your social media. Because if it looks like junk, I am going to be really worried. And then, as you start to go forward, you must find the right employees. 90% of all women-owned businesses are sole proprietors. That is bad. 90%. Because it's really hard for you, all of us, to do it by ourselves. 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes. I'm going to let you guys ask questions in 1 second. So even if you can't hire somebody full-time, like get somebody to help you once a week with your books. Ask for help. Please ask for help. I work with and I hire people and surround myself with people who have all the skills I don't, because I am not great at many things, including finances and numbers and budgeting. All right. Women and minorities have trouble raising capital, and this will be my last point before I let you ask me some questions. So we know that the amount of money that goes to women from VCs and angels is very low. But when we find and we look at women entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of color, the numbers are even lower. And then when further research was done, some of the investors think that women and entrepreneurs of color are getting too much money. I'm like, really? You think so? Right. So the key to all this, and as I went down and really looked at a lot of the numbers and the statistics, is that, what do you think the reason is? The reason is that most of the investors are older white men. So it's going to be very important as you're progressing through your careers and your businesses to find people who are understanding of where you are, to look for lenders who look like you, because now they're beginning to be out there. And for you to continue to try, because one no does not make the end of your business.